Congratulations on being shortlisted.
Thank you very much.
All right. Please tell us what inspired your book.
Okay, the title of my book is Yam Tarawala, the Warrior King. It's a historical fiction of a character called Abdullahi, who later became Yam Tarawala. It's set in ancient Kanem Bonu Empire in the 16th century. So I was looking at history, untold history, Nigerian history. Kanem was one of the biggest empires in Africa before the coming of Europeans and also the Arab incursion. And Kanem was formed in 7th century. It was formidable till 19th century. Then it began to wane. But Nigerian literature has not done justice to the story of Kanem Bonu Empire. So I was looking at untold history, untold story in Nigerian literature compared to Benin Empire, Oyo Empire, the Fulani Empire. There have been a series of works, both in drama, in literature, in fiction, in poetry. The Kanem Bonu Empire has not been celebrated, and it was almost the biggest empire in this part of the world. So I was trying to interrogate history, also to talk about how this empire led to the formation of Biu Kingdom in Borno State. So I was looking at ancient history and its relationship between the past and the present. And also, as I was looking at celebrating a culture, because Nigeria is a multicultural society. But what we celebrate in our literature is just a few cultures. So I don't believe in limiting, in removing some or dumbing down the narrative of some parts of Nigeria. Let it be a holistic thing. So I'm trying to give voice to the voiceless, to celebrate a culture that we don't hear about in Nigerian literature, but exists, that has a rich history and cultural heritage. So I was looking at the relationship between indigenous theater and modern theater, using Kanem Bonu and Bura culture in Borno State as a yardstick.
How did you put this together? Did you have to study the culture?
Yeah,
take and all of that?
Yeah, there was a story. There's a book called A History of Biu. It was written by Dr. Buka Usman. Dr. Buka Usman is the president of Nigerian Folklore Society. He was also a former permanent secretary in the presidency. So when he retired, he became an author. He started writing books, and he has sponsored so many folklore of Nigerian people. He sponsors scholars, writers to go and research on folktales from the area, and he published and pay. So he has done so much on Nigerian folklore and culture. And also he wrote this book, A History of Biu. It's one of the most beautiful books of history I've ever read in Nigeria. So he detailed the culture of his people, Bura, which came out from Kanuri, Kanem Bonu. So when I read that book and I come across the history of Kanem Bonu Empire, how formidable it was, because Kanem was as big. It was today when we talk about Oyo Empire, which all of us know that southwestern part of Nigeria and then part of Benin Republic. We talk of Benin Empire, which is just circulated within an area. The Kanem was made up of 5 countries. We're talking of northeast Nigeria, we're talking of northern Cameroon, we are talking of almost the entire Chad, then Niger Republic, then southern Libya. It was as big, so a big empire. But along the line, Kanem lost its relevance when Fulani Empire entered. And so, but it was formidable. It was rubbing shoulder with Songhai Empire, Mali Empire, Ghana Empire, Ottoman Empire. So I read that book. When I read that book, I drew a lot of inspiration. I say, how come there's this story exists and nobody has done anything about it? So I now discovered Yam Tarawala, who was a prince of Kanem. He was a prince of Kanem Bonu Empire. So he was supposed, when his father died, he was supposed to be the next king, but he was not made the king. His younger brother was made the king. So I started digging into the history. How come? What's the secret behind this? But I now found out that they come from a warrior. They have a warrior tradition. They even fought Boko Haram themselves, not even the military. So the culture they have there is unique. You're talking about culture, dance that nobody has documented in Nigerian literature at all. So I have to gather this thing together And I spoke to the emir, I spoke to the custodians of tradition, and I visited monuments. When you go to Biu, you will see a monument, you will see a burial ground where they bury their kings. More than 500 years. It's still in existence. They have preserved it. So I said, let me give voice to the voiceless. Let me celebrate culture. Let Nigerians also, because Nigeria is a divided country. People are divided along ethnic lines, along religious lines. But here I am, an Igbo man going to Borno State to celebrate their culture. So I'm satisfied I did that, and people are excited. It's a national story that has not been told.
So how do you feel about being shortlisted?
Yeah, ma'am, I feel over the moon. The dream of every writer is to be recognized, to be honored for doing outstanding creative work. And I have been a journalist all this while. I'm still a journalist. So I have been covering literary bits since 2005. So what I have done all these years to limit my own work, why focusing attention of others, why celebrating them? So I'm also sacrificing my own time. So recently I realized let me, because I have this inside me, but I have neglected it a bit to promote other writers. Let me also do something for myself. And I'm happy the thing came out well.
Let's assume that you are chosen as the winner. How would you describe your feeling on October 13 when the winner was declared?
It's going to be a dream come true, because I've always had this dream that one day I'm going to step into this shoe, because so many people who have won the prizes, they also ask Henry, why are you not entering these prizes? I did their books. I have edited more than 200 books of Nigerian authors. So some of those books have won big awards. And they said, you that is doing all this thing for us, why don't you also do your own? So I now took the bull by the horn to write this book. So if I win, it's going to be a consummation. It's going to be a dream come true, because it will not be a surprise to many people, because they already know me in the Nigerian and African writers. They actually know me, because I've been around for over a decade in journalism, writing about them, reviewing their books, interview them, and also editing their books. So it's going to be a dream come true for me. I'm going to celebrate it like if Nigeria has won the World Cup.
But how would you describe what NLNG is doing for literature?
Yeah, NLNG has been fantastic. As I told you, I have been covering literature in Nigerian media since 2005. So I've been following the progress right from the beginning of the press. NLNG has done fantastically well in promoting Nigerian literature, because there are some companies that started the same time, some started after, they have all died. It's not easy. Every year, NLNG will dedicate $100,000. And to be consistent, when the price started, it was $20 before IBB now made the case for it to be increased. It has been increased. Now it's $100,000. It doesn't come cheap. So it's a reward for creativity, which is not easy. If here you are celebrating creativity, writers are intellectuals. They are public intellectuals who think outside the box to create outstanding works. We must encourage NLNG to keep on doing this. They have also revived the careers of many writers. They have also made writers who have won this international celebrities. If you win NLNG prize in Nigeria, it's like you have won the biggest prize in Africa. So everybody takes notes, whether you're in South Africa, in Kenya, in Namibia, it's the biggest literary prize in Africa. So that is what NLNG has done for Nigerian literature. And it has also raised that spirit of competition. Every year, people now want to write the best book to make sure that they enter the long list or short list or win. So that spirit of competition, it engineers that competitive spirit among writers to make sure that they write the best books. So that's what NLNG has done for Nigeria. It also rewards writers. It's not easy for you to make $100,000 from being an author. You begin to imagine how many millions of copies you are going to sell. And in a society like Nigeria, where people don't read as they used to read, so it's going to be difficult for you to sell your books and generate 100,000 naira profit, $100,000 profit. It doesn't come easy. So NLNG has really done well. We have to congratulate them. We have to encourage them to keep on in this light, because now literature has become, in Nigeria, every Nigerian writer wants to be a Chimamanda, because they now believe that you don't only make name from writing, you can also make money from writing. And that is what NLNG has done. Nobody else has done it in Africa. It's also one of the biggest prizes in the world. Every winner of this prize is being celebrated across the world. That is it.
Okay. When the judges were announcing the shortlist, they said your book would also be good for screen and for stage.
Yeah.
Do you agree with them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was deliberately. When I was writing the play, I had in mind the screen also, because if you look at Wole Soyinka's Death and the King's Horseman, it was a play, but recently it was turned into a movie. And then if you look at there's one drama, Anikulapo, during the African Movie Academy Awards, it won all the prizes. It's a historical fiction. It's a historical drama. So I knew, because I'm talking about a drama that has war sense. There's war. Anything war, it captures the imagination of people. So this is about a story set in the 16th century. So we are going to see war sense, which we never experience ourselves. So it's going to bring out, it has a cinematic appeal. So I deliberately wrote that play. I deliberately wrote that play for the stage and the screen. I totally agree with them. It was deliberate. I wanted something that would transcend. And already my publisher told me that people have been making inquiries about whether they will buy the screen right of the play to screen it. And I was discussing with also people from Borno State who said they were surprised that I wrote that play. They say, this is amazing. How can an Igbo man come all the way to Borno State to write this play? And the story has been there. Nobody has made any effort to make sure they dramatize it or put it on screen. Now they are showing interest. Even from Borno State, they want to see if they can partner to make sure that this drama is turned into a movie. So it's deliberate. It's deliberate. And I trust you, because if you look at what they have done in Europe, places like Macbeth by William Shakespeare, you look at Othello, you have King Lear. These have been turned from drama to movie. They are historical drama. So it's natural that this one, because you're talking about Kanem Borno Empire, a formidable empire in Africa, nobody has paid attention to. And so definitely it's going to elicit interest when it morphs into a movie.
Okay, what kind of collaborations are you looking forward to, particularly about adapting the movie for screen and stage?
Yeah. Right now I have it in mind. I say if by God's grace I win this prize, I'm going to collaborate with the Ministry of Arts and Culture. Okay. Federal, not just, and also states. Those in Borno already show interest. In Yobe State, they show interest. Then those I'm also trying to collaborate with the Federal Ministry of Arts and Culture to see how these books will be made available to be used as a souvenir for people coming to Nigeria, because it's a history that we must celebrate. So the movie aspect of it is something we are going to take seriously.
Let me ask. Of course, you said while you were putting the book together, you considered it for screen and stage as well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, did you also have the prize in mind while writing? Did you think it was going to top?
When I was writing that book, almost 2 weeks before the end of deadline, the book was not available. I was shocked. I read it again. I called my publisher in UK, because the book is published in UK. I said, can you make this book available? He said he will try. So 3 days before the end of the deadline, the book had not arrived in Nigeria. So I read the manuscript again. I told my wife, I said, this is the kind of book that wins NLNG prize. So I started making contacts. I got across to 4 publishers in Nigeria. All of them accepted to publish it. Before my publisher in UK now said the books will be arriving in Nigeria tomorrow. So I had an idea that this book was going to go far, because I know the story I was writing was uncommon, and the culture I was celebrating was also uncommon. It's like being an archaeologist, going to a territory that you do not know to excavate something that is hidden. So I knew this is unique. And not just the storyline, but also the dramatic qualities of that play. I reinvented certain things. Drama has been changing from what it used to be. So in that play, you're going to see acoustics, like as if you're watching a stage play, you're going to hear the sound of gun. You're going to hear, which you normally see on screen. So you're going to see it on stage. It was what I learned from watching plays staged by National Troupe of Nigeria. So it's like you are watching a live performance, but you are hearing the sound of gun. It creates that cinematic appeal. So that is it.
Okay. Can you share some of the struggles of Nigerian writers with us?
Yeah, the problem, number one problem Nigerian writers have is getting their books published. In Europe, in America, in Germany, in UK, in France, once your manuscript is good and you submit it to an agency, the agency will submit it to a publisher. They will assess it, and if it is good, they are going to publish it for you. But in Nigeria, it's not always the case. When my first published novel, Prodigals in Paradise, I wrote it, I sent it to a publisher in South Africa. They read it, they say, excellent work, but this book is not meant for our market. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's not meant for our market. I sent it to a Nigerian publisher. 3 years, they never replied me.
Wow.
When I inquired and inquired, then I said, we are not going to publish the book. What's your reason? No reason. So imagine someone like me who is already known in the literary world, and you are finding it difficult to publish my work in Nigeria. They imagine somebody who is never known, who's not known. So that's the problem, Nigerians getting their books published. So most times, what they do now is to publish the books themselves. They do self-publishing, and self-publishing has its own disadvantages. It might not be well edited, it might not be well proofread, but so it's not going to come out the best book. But the good thing is that you have published. It's better for you to publish a book than not to publish it, because you might be discouraged from being a writer. If you write what you think is a masterpiece, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you have not published it, you will not be inspired to write another one. That creativity might likely die. Some people have died with their creativity to the grave. So Nigerian writers struggle to get their books published. Most of Nigerian writers, what you see as Nigerian literature is just literature written by a few people. Majority of them have not been published yet. They don't have somebody who's going to pay for the publication. They may not get a publisher. The major publishers in Nigeria, what they normally do is to publish books of big names, those who have won international awards. Those who are, if you're also a lecturer, you might have advantage. But if you're not an award-winning writer, or you're not a lecturer, you may find it difficult getting published in Nigeria. And majority of the writers are outside these two places I mentioned. We are talking about 90%. They are neither lecturers, they are neither award-winning writers, but they have something inside them. So publishing is a big problem in Nigeria. There are so many people who want their voices to be heard. So nobody's ready to publish them. And these writers don't even also have the money. They don't have the money. For you to publish a book, you'll be needing like 1 million, 2 million plus. Most Nigerian writers don't have this money. So they keep on grumbling. Some will never get published. That's the honest truth. So and most publishers are publishing books meant for schools, textbooks. If you write a book on English language or chemistry or biology, you are likely going to get a publisher. If you write a book of poetry or novel or drama, the possibility of getting publisher is just 5%. 5%. The rest are going to be self-published book. And it has its own limitation. But the good thing is that it comes out. But then it's not everyone who has the money to publish these books. So the Nigerian writer struggles to get published. Then the Nigerian writer struggles also to get his book promoted. Most publishers publish the book and they don't do anything about promotion. They don't, because you have to organize readings for writers. When you organize readings, people see your book, they buy it. When I published my first books, I back on readings of many states in Nigeria, and 90% of the books were sold by me, not by the publisher. By embarking on readings, going to universities, going to reading clubs, the books sold themselves without the publisher having any impact. So you see, so that aspect we have to do it. Nigerian writers also have to, don't just write your book, publish it and leave it. Also embark on reading tours. Go to universities. They buy in hundreds. An individual can buy 1-2 copies. When you go to schools, they will buy in hundreds. Some buy in thousands. But people don't know that there's market. They say people don't buy, but no, you are not doing what you're supposed to do. If you take your books to these places, to high institutions, to polytechnics, to departments of English, theater arts, or where they have GST, they will buy. But people don't do that. The publishers don't do this. So they keep on complaining there's no money in writing. No, you are the one who's not doing what you're supposed to do. So
Okay, let's take your final word for NLNG.
Yeah, I encourage NLNG to keep on doing what it's doing in promoting and celebrating Nigerian literature. Nigeria Prize for Literature has become the biggest prize in Africa and one of the biggest prizes, literary prizes in the world. Everybody in the world takes notice of what is happening. Since I was longlisted and shortlisted, I've been getting reactions from all over Africa, from Kenya, from South Africa, from Uganda, from Tanzania, from Mali, from Liberia, from Ghana. In fact, I've been invited to read in Ghana. I've been invited to read in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, University of Tubman. They say I should come and read there. I've also been invited to read in Kenya. So that is what Nigerian Prize for Literature does for you. It is like the biggest prize in Africa. Everybody knows that for you to get this far, you have done something extraordinary. So that is what we Nigerian writers, we are also grateful for NLNG for keeping the momentum and keeping the prize till this day. I will encourage NLNG to keep on awarding the prize each year so that more Nigerian writers will also benefit from the prize, and more Nigerian writers will also benefit from the publicity. It's an honor to be a shortlisted writer from Nigerian Prize for Literature.